Hello everyone, I'm back along with TinkerBell, and this time it's TinkerBell Secret Adventure. Alrighty, let's see what's in here. Okay, looks like there is no silver maze, no Rosetta, no Iridessa, no Vidya. So let's see who is in here. Ooh, Captain Hook. Must be very interesting. And who else? Hookscrew. Smee. The Lost Boys. And Peter Pan and TinkerBell. Let's begin. The pixie TinkerBell loved living in Neverland with Peter Pan and Lost Boys. They spent their days doing whatever they wanted. Most of the time that meant playing some kind of game. Usually this was wonderful for all of them, but lately TinkerBell had been less interested in games. Finally, one afternoon, TinkerBell stopped playing and jingled quietly to herself, wishing she could tell Peter how she felt. But how would she ever make Peter understand that what she really wanted was her own adventure? What TinkerBell didn't realize was that she was about to get her wish. At the same moment, a boat pirate ship, Jolly Roger. Captain Hook was very angry with his first mate Smee. Why didn't you catch Peter Pan when you had the chance? Hook roared at Smee. But, Smee stammered. He wanted to say that he had been too busy trying to save Captain Hook. But Smee remained quiet. And he decided the only way to make the captain happy was to catch Peter Pan. But how? Smee wondered. He thought and he thought and he thought. Eventually, Smee had an idea. I'll snatch Peter's little pixie friend, TinkerBell, Smee decided. If I catch her, we'll be able to trap Peter Pan when he comes to save TinkerBell. Determined, Smee set off to find and capture the unsuspecting pixie. Deep in the forest, Smee found a glittering trail. Aha, he exclaimed. This must be TinkerBell's pixie dust. Excited, Smee followed the trail right to the flower where TinkerBell lay daydreaming. Smee quietly crept closer just as he was about to catch her in a tiny box. Achoo! Smee sneezed. Startled but too sleepy to notice Smee, TinkerBell flew quickly away to a soft lily pad near the water edge. A little later, Smee found her again. Good, this time she looks asleep, he thought. I'll snag the lily pad with his stick and pull her to the shore. So he stretched and he stretched just a little more. When Smee surfaced, TinkerBell had disappeared. Now soaking wet and discouraged, Smee gave up and set off for Jolly Roger. I'll just have to think of another way to please Captain Hook. Just then Smee spotted the tiny pixie smelling a flower. Thinking quickly, he swooped down and scooped up TinkerBell in his net. I did it, cheered a triumphant Smee. Finally, Captain Hook would know that Smee was a loyal pirate. But when Smee looked at TinkerBell, he noticed that her eyes were closed and she wasn't moving. Even worse, the pixie's light had started to fade. Smee panicked. Oh no, she must have fainted. Smee cried. Miss Bell, wake up. Smee took TinkerBell out of his net and gently held her in his hands. But the tiny pixie still didn't move. Miss Bell, please be all right, Smee pleaded. A second later, TinkerBell stirred a little bit. Just as her light started to glow brighter, her eyes fluttered open. TinkerBell felt better. She stretched her wings, flew into the air, and then landed back in Smee's hand. Smee was so relieved. Phew, I am so glad you are okay, he said, smiling. But suddenly TinkerBell recognized Smee. Before she could escape, Smee tightened his grip and wouldn't let her go. Oh no, you are coming with me, he declared. TinkerBell was terrified that she might never see her friends again. She had to get free. Perhaps she could distract Smee somehow. As the pirate passed by a bush, TinkerBell leaned over, picked a pretty flower, and gave it to Smee. Smee had never been given a flower before. He sniffed it and smiled. I didn't know that flowers smell so sweet, he admitted to TinkerBell. TinkerBell climbed onto Smee's shoulder, jingled innocently, and pointed to a flock of birds high in the sky. Looking up, Smee said, Wow, what beautiful birds! Why, I can see a blue one, a green one, and even some purple ones, Smee exclaimed. TinkerBell smiled. Smee was thinking happy thoughts, and that gave her an idea. TinkerBell sprinkled some pixie dust over Smee. Suddenly, the pirate floated into the air. Amazed, Smee shouted, Look at me, Miss Bell, I can fly. TinkerBell giggled. Smee was the biggest, fattest bird she had ever seen. Oh, if Captain Hook could see me now, cried Smee. But the thought of Captain Hook was not a happy thought. All of a sudden, Smee stopped flying and began to fall to the ground. Help! He cried. And to TinkerBell's dismay, he landed right on Captain Hook. Get off me, you nincompoop, Captain Hook roared. What are you doing? I'm so sorry, Cap. I was Smee stammered, and he struggled to sit up. Well, Captain Hook said gleefully when he spotted TinkerBell. Who have we here? Captain Hook swooped her up in his hat. Gotcha, he cried meanly. TinkerBell bravely struggled to fight her way out of the hat, but no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't get free. Poor TinkerBell, Smee thought to himself. Well done, Smee, Captain Hook snared. We'll use Miss Bell as bait. Peter Pan's as good as mine. Smee unhappily followed as Captain Hook hurried back to the Jolly Roger, clutching TinkerBell in his hat. 3 cheers for the captain, shouted the other pirates when Hook showed the pixie. He won't use me to lure Peter and the Lost Boys to this ship, TinkerBell vowed. But Captain Hook pushed her into the bird cage and slammed the door. It's the perfect pixie prison, he exclaimed. Lucky for you, the parrot is no longer in it, he snarled at Pixie. Then Captain Hook laughed and slipped the keys into his pocket. He bowed to TinkerBell. Excuse me, my dear Miss Bell, I'm going below deck to write a letter to your precious Peter Pan. My dear Peter Pan, chuckled Captain Hook, I have the most wonderful surprise for you. Hook wrote to Peter that he was holding TinkerBell prisoner aboard his ship, and if you ever want to see her again, come and get her. The captain finished grinning. Certain that Peter would come, Hook was determined to be ready. The captain hadn't enjoyed himself so much in ages. Later, a courier pigeon delivered Captain Hook's letter to the underground tree house where Peter Pan and the Lost Boys lived. Peter read it aloud to the others. Hook can do this, Peter shouted. But he already has, Nip sadly pointed out. We'll see about that. Follow me, men, Peter cried. Peter and the Lost Boys flew as quickly as they could towards the Jolly Roger. Peter was going to free TinkerBell. He wasn't going to let his little friend down. She needed him. We are not leaving without Tink, Peter vowed. Meanwhile, Smee was apologizing to TinkerBell. I didn't want things to turn out this way, Smee tried to explain. Well, I did, but then I didn't. Suddenly, a dark shadow loomed over TinkerBell's cage. Careful, Smee. A big, mean pirate warned when he overheard me. Just think what Captain Hook will do to you if you unlock the cage. Smee knew Captain Hook would make his life miserable, so Smee did what he had to do. Had never unlocked the cage, Smee called to the other pirate as he left. Then Smee left too. Tiny TinkerBell was crushed. She had hoped Smee was different from other pirates, but it seemed she was wrong. Suddenly, TinkerBell heard a noise. The cage started to shake. TinkerBell grabbed the bars. What was happening? Then TinkerBell looked down and noticed a teeny tiny hole being cut into the floor of the cage. TinkerBell knelt down and saw Smee staring at her with a tiny file in his hand. I guess no one noticed this hole that the parrot must have pecked in the bottom of the cage, pretended Smee. The hole was just big enough for TinkerBell to squeeze through. Very thankful and excited, she spread her wings and started to fly away. Ahoy! The pixie's out of the cage, shouted a pirate. Quickly, the pirates surrounded her. Just then, Peter and the Lost Boys soared into sight. If you heard Tink, you'll answer to me, shouted Peter. Captain Hook rushed up. Why, it's Peter Pan, my old friend. I knew you would come, gushed Hook. Captain Hook then grinned and waved his sharp sword. But you won't be leaving. Captain Hook shouted to his men, "Come on, you lazy sea dogs, this time let's get them." Peter and the Lost Boys bravely faced the pirates. Peter laughed. "You never learn, Hook." Able to slip away, TinkerBell raced to the top of the mainsail and loosened it. Instantly, the huge sail started to fall. Peter saw the sail tumbling and shouted to the Lost Boys, "Save yourself." The Lost Boys leapt out of the way just in time. The pirates weren't so lucky. The heavy sail fell on top of them and trapped them underneath. Peter and the Lost Boys jumped for joy. They cheered, "Hooray for TinkerBell!" "Not so fast, Pants," snarled Captain Hook as he crawled out. "I haven't finished with you yet." Hook jumped at Peter and the two started fighting. Captain Hook's long sword inched closer and closer to Peter. When Captain Hook jumped in a pile of rope, TinkerBell grabbed the end of the rope. As she tugged hard, the rope came undone. Captain Hook lost his balance. He teetered towards the side of the ship and splashed. Captain Hook hit the water. When Captain Hook bobbed to the surface, he heard the dreaded sound. Suddenly, Captain Hook was staring at a crocodile, pointy teeth. "Oh no, not you again," the captain wailed. The hungry crocodile snapped at Captain Hook as he paddled frantically away. "You don't want to hurt me," Hook pleaded, desperately trying to get away. "Better hurry, Hook," Peter shouted. "The croc is getting closer." "Is there anything I can do, Cap?" Smee called over the side of the ship. "You can rescue me and capture Pan," Captain Hook shouted back. "But I can only do one thing at a time," Smee yelled. "Then save me, you fool," Hook screeched. Turning to the Lost Boys and TinkerBell, Peter said, "Come on, it's time to go home." Smee threw a rope to Captain Hook and tugged him up out of the water. Just as the crocodile clamped its jaws around one of the captain's shoes. "I'll get you, Peter Pan," howled Hook, shaking his fist. "You said that last time," Peter yelled. "And look where that got you." TinkerBell flew past me. Who winked at her? TinkerBell would always be grateful to her new friend for saving her. Meanwhile, Smee knew that Captain Hook must never find out how the pixie really escaped. It would be Smee's and TinkerBell's best kept secret. Peter and the Lost Boys were thrilled to have TinkerBell back safely. "How did Hook catch you in the first place, Tink?" Peter asked. Smiling, TinkerBell jingled and jingled. In fact, she jingled so quickly that Peter couldn't understand what she was saying. TinkerBell had finally had her own adventure, jingling loudly and happily. She flew ahead of the rest. "Come on, boys," Peter shouted. "Tink says let's go home." The end. That was really interesting and action-based story. Right? I liked it and I hope you also liked it. I'll be back with a new story. Till then, stay safe. See you. Bye bye.